Hey guys, welcome to the next episode of Power Couples Next Door. We thought in this episode we would get real and raw with you guys. What it's really like to be a power couple, what it's really like to be married. And we're going to share with you our lowest low in our marriage because we want you guys to know that just because you have some really tough times in a marriage, it doesn't mean that it can't be amazing, and that's just reality. And so we thought we would share our lowest low, which, how long have we been married?
Oh shit, oops, I cussed already. 14 years? 13 years? I don't know.
13 years. We just celebrated our 13th wedding anniversary in May, and we've definitely had some lows. But we hit a pretty big hiccup, I don't know what you want to call it, about 2 years ago. And it was one of those things that really just shakes the foundation, I guess you could say.
I think, for my own part, so if you guys have watched any of our other videos, you kind of know our story, but we got together, we knew exactly what we wanted, we built businesses, and then we made $1 million in real estate, and then we lost that $1 million in real estate, and then we went through those down times, and then we started coming back. And the really fascinating thing was you would expect that I don't know if people would, I expected, right? I expected that during the worst possible time, right, when you're losing everything, that would be when the relationship would have the most cracks in it and would have
Most low point.
the low point, and that's when you guys would be the worst. But for us, that's not really what happened. We almost were okay, well, we're in the poop. So it's we're in the poop, and now we're both gonna go to work, and we're just gonna figure it out. And so we spent all this time figuring out, and then it was almost as we came out of figuring it out that's when things got rocky. And I don't even know how to describe how rocky it was. I mean, divorce came up. I don't know that was really what's up, but it was just a getting real with each other and being well, shoot, if this is where you are, is this what you want? Do we need to not be a couple anymore? But what in my mind, I guess, was the most fascinating part was it wasn't any of the stuff that was happening in the moment, and then you end up in a moment where your world's crashing that happened. It almost ended up we drug all of this baggage that we had created through going through that, and then we came back, or we're coming back financially, and things were actually kind of starting to get good, or we're starting to get better on all the other areas of our life. But the relationship had gathered suitcases full of
baggage or
just
scars or past stories. I think one of the big things was that I've been on a long journey to self-love and finding who I am, and we've been together since we were 18, and there was a point a couple years ago which we do a lot of things together. We're together a lot, and it really works for us. It doesn't work for everyone, and I don't think to be a power couple you have to spend a certain amount of time together, or you have to work together or anything like that. But for us, we've always worked together, and there came a point where I decided I wanted to kind of get really serious about my fitness and work out, and I started going to the gym a lot, and I just started getting a lot of great feedback about how I was progressing and how I was looking, and all of a sudden, I didn't know this until later, until looking back on it, I just started feeling confident on my own instead of confident as a couple. And I just started realizing I had been dependent a lot on his love, dependent a lot on his opinions. And for the first time in my life, I actually felt confident in myself without needing him. And it really made me question oh, well, I don't need you anymore. Like, I feel 100% complete. And it was just this, like, completely foreign feeling for me to feel that way, because that was the first time I'd ever felt that way. And so I kind of bottled it up because I wasn't sure how to explain it to him. And of course, he knew something was going on. But I didn't really share my feelings because I wasn't sure how to share my feelings, because I was like, okay, I'm feeling this way. I need to figure out why I'm feeling this way before I talk to him about it. And looking back now, that probably wasn't the best way to do it, because that just left him kind of in a space of not knowing. And it left me in a space of keeping things bottled up and not being able to talk through them. So it kind of came to a head one day, and he sat down and he said, hey, he's like, I know something's going wrong, like something's up or something's just not good for you. Can you please share what it is? And I just said, hey, like, I'm attracted to another guy, like, and I've never been attracted to another guy before, and I'm feeling super, like, independent and confident in myself, and like, I don't need you, and I don't know what that means. I don't know if that means that I want to go out and see other people and date other people. I'm just kind of in a place that it's very scary, but yet very invigorating, because I have this newfound confidence. And I feel like that is super normal, I think, for women too. A lot of us are discovering our own self-love and our own self-confidence, and we get a lot of that confidence maybe from kids or from our significant other or our friends. And once, our kids are gone, you have that empty nest, and you're like, oh my gosh, who am I? Who am I without my partner? Who am I without my kids? Who am I without my amazing job? Or who am I? And really discovering that is sometimes like a really scary process. But you want to add to what it was like for you?
I think probably the biggest thing is like those conversations, they're like the real legit conversations. Like, they can either go really well and you can keep the love intact, or you can let your ego take over, and your ego will train wreck that. Just it'll be like the Titanic going down. So like, when the person that's the love of your life says something like that, your brain, especially when, like, I think of myself as pretty much like a man's man, right? Like, I'm very much male and I have male energy. Is like, well, like, how am I not good enough? Well, like, there's just all of these stories that immediately go through your head. Fortunately, I don't have like a lot of like, oh, I'm not good enough, so that wasn't there for very long, but I can definitely see how it would be. I think what came up for me the most was like, that was the moment where I realized, like, if you guys know us and you spend a lot of time with us, you know that, like, I take care of my woman. Like,
He does.
I'll cook, I'll clean, like, I pull my weight. Like, I don't expect her to do everything, and I sort of think of myself as the person that, like, if your shit's hitting the fan, like, I'll take some of that load on. But what happened in that, and part of the reason why I did that, even if it was sort of like a really, really deep core level, is because, like, I'm doing that so that she'll love me and never leave me. And so, like, I do it because I want to. Don't get me wrong. Like, that is who I am. But I do, but also there's this other thing. Like, I do all of this crap so that you'll love me and not leave me. And it wasn't enough.
It was a moment where you realized that it didn't matter. You can't control another person. You can't control life. You can't control relationships. You can't control what's going to happen down the road. It doesn't matter what you do. You can't control it.
Yeah.
I think that was probably, both of us are kind of control freaks.
Yeah.
So that was a big moment for both of us to feel out of control. I just want to say, like, one of the biggest things, and I just have to acknowledge you, is that he is the most amazing man. I can't even imagine like what it was that he went through in that moment. And for me, it's like, it has nothing to do with you. Like, it's not that I don't love you. It's not that you're not amazing. It's not that you have done everything right. This is just something that I'm going through as an individual in my own journey of self-love and discovery and confidence. And it killed me that I hurt him, or that he was hurt. But he was so amazing in the fact that, I think what he was saying is he had a little bit of ego, but in general, like, the thing is, I think that got us really through that, because it could have gone really bad. Like, he could have just been like, okay, fine, I'm out. Like, this is ridiculous. But really realizing that how you react and in reacting in love and in care, and not reacting in, how do I say this, out of pain, but out of love, I think is really what got us through that.
I feel like one thing that's really, really fortunate, and it's I don't think I'm great by any stretch of the imagination, because I got a lot of weird quirks and eccentricities for sure, but I always really want to understand what's going on. And in this case, like, I think that's one of the things that really, really helped, because rather than me listen to the little voices in my head and just start like writing stories about what it was that she was saying, and like, oh, she just wants to go sleep with other guys, or oh, she just wants to do this, or like whatever maybe would normally come up, I was actually really, really present and really, really questioning of like, okay, like, what is it that you're really trying to say? Like, what is it that's really going on, as opposed to just taking the words that I think a normal human being and running with that. Okay, she said X, that means she wants to go do Y. I was more like, there was a lot of like just questions. Now the flip side of that is there was also a lot of questions, because it was like why is this happening when I've done all of this, which was all very ego. But like,
I think too that you're very supportive. Like, yes, you were trying to understand, but you were very supportive. Okay, like, this is hard, but how can I support you in what it is that you're needing, and as an individual, and you know, what does that look like? This is so hard to talk about, but we felt it was like really important to be real with you guys, because I think that, you know, this happens a lot. Like, you're with someone for a while, and you kind of just.
What occurred to me when I was thinking about that we were going to do this video earlier is like, this is the first time we've really talked about it since we got through it.
Yeah.
So this is almost.
I'm not gonna lie, I was a little hesitant.
Putting our shit on. Actually,
Yeah.
cussed again.
Yeah, you already said that. You already cussed a couple of times, but I
just think it's important for people to understand, because it's one of my biggest frustrations, and another reason why I wanted to do this is that everything's sugar-coated.
Yeah, we live in a social media world where everything looks perfect. There's filters, or you take a selfie 15 times to get the right angle, and everybody puts out people call it the highlight reel, if you will. And yeah, you're right, that was one of our intentions for Power Couples, is to be real with you guys, not just the highlight reel, not just the fun, cool stuff in a relationship or in, you know, in relationships, but also the hard stuff, because this is the reality of it. And it's shit happens. Hey, I just cussed again. and how you deal with it, and how we dealt with it may not be, you know, great for everyone, but it was a really difficult time. And I think that one of the things that makes our relationship really amazing, and I think of what has worked for us, is we both speak our truth to each other. We're very open and honest, but we also try really hard not to let those, like, what someone else is saying, cause us to react to those things. How do you explain that?
Ooh, I actually think I think I know what you're trying to say. Basically, like, we have a thing that we say to each other, which is that you can't make me feel some way.
Yeah.
So I even though I have been accused of not being human, or that I think I'm not a human, like, I have emotions and I have stuff that comes up, but like, you can't make me feel some way. You can't do it. Another person, like, I just refuse to grant that kind of control over my life to another human, that they control me.
Yeah.
And so you don't make me feel some way. Like, ultimately, I can choose it. And I think that both of us, because stuff comes up, you get frustrated, you throw a spear even when you don't want to, or you just get so frustrated that vomit comes out of your mouth at the other person. But she can't make me feel some way. I choose how I feel, and then vice versa. Like,
yeah, I said I hurt you earlier. I don't know if you guys caught that, and I said actually you felt hurt.
Yeah.
That was what I thought. You felt hurt. I didn't make you hurt.
Yeah.
That was something we had. Just side note, we had a coaching call together the other day, and I felt like during the coaching call that he took away my power, and then he's like, hey, I can't take away your power. Only you can do that to yourself. So really taking responsibility for our feelings. That doesn't mean you don't have those feelings. Right. You have those feelings. But that is not necessarily someone else's responsibility. That's yours. And another side tip that we've learned recently is that when you get triggered, it's typically something within yourself. Versus something that someone else is doing. It's something that you're unhappy with in yourself. And I think that that's important to know in a relationship when you're having conversations, just taking responsibility for your own feelings and working through them. It doesn't mean that they're not relevant. It doesn't mean that they're not important, but really sharing them, but not blaming the other person.
Do you want to think another thing that really, really helped is, whenever we got married by a friend that was the dad of, he's a really cool guy, the dad of somebody that she babysat way back when. But he was willing to marry us, and it wasn't like a religious thing, but he had the ability to marry us. But he would only marry us if we took this course. And the entire course revolved around this idea of the listener speaker technique. Mm-hmm. It is probably one of the single, like, if I had to rank things to bring to your relationship, when you can bring the listener speaker technique to your relationship, it makes all of the difference. And so I think that's another thing that really helped, is like, okay, how can I listen to what you said and then speak it back to you, and then find out if what I'm hearing and what you're saying is all actually in alignment. Because sometimes when we're emotional, like, we're just like,
well, we're coming from a place of pain.
Yeah, but we just vomit, right? Like, we say stuff and we don't necessarily construct it in a way that is rational. I don't know. and so the other person...
Well, we all have our own stories and our own listenings of our partner. Like, we have past things that we've gone through together and stories that we've formulated about that person, whether that was actually what happened or not. And so a lot of times when we move forward, we have a certain listening of that person. And so when they do something, the past event triggers and connects, and we're like, oh, they're doing this thing again, when that actually might not be true. So the listener speaker technique is basically one person talks and then the other person repeats back, what I heard you say was ... And then the other person can go, say, yes, that's exactly what I was saying. Or they can be like, no, that's actually not what I meant. So it's just, I would say overall, the number one thing in relationships is communication and how you communicate.
Yep.
Actually listening, not coming from a place of retaliation, and just really communicating back and forth. Everybody just wants to be heard, understood, and loved.
Don't make up stories about your partners, you guys. Like, don't make up stories that your partner is trying to do X, Y, and Z because they're trying to do something. Like, we wouldn't do that to our kids. Like, we don't have kids, but I don't ever see anybody do that to their kids, but I see them do that to their partners. Like, they make up this whole story about what it was that their partner was trying to do when they hurt them. And a lot of times we're just like doing the best we freaking can, living, and because you're in a relationship, there's overlap. There's no reason to make up a story. Like, sometimes you get hurt.
I don't know if any of this is coming out right, but basically,
It's all coming out.
yeah, I think basically we just wanted to share with you guys that we went through a time where we weren't sure that we were actually going to stay together, and it was really rough, and we came out of it the other side way better. We still have our hiccups now and then, but we just wanted to share that our lowest low was even just a couple years ago, and you have highs and you have lows in marriage, and it doesn't mean that you have to separate. It doesn't mean you have to stay together, but just wanted to share that.
We could get really, really honest. You know what the most interesting thing is? We decided we wanted to do this power couples thing. We got ramped up into it, and we were making videos, and then to be honest with you guys, like,
2 years ago is actually when we stopped doing those videos.
we looked in the mirror and we're like, how the F do we talk to people about their relationships and being a power couple whenever
we're going through this?
because that's the complete opposite of what we wanted to have involved. You know, no matter what we did, that wasn't what we were trying to do, is to create this false front of like the highlight reel of our life, while in the background, like, we didn't want to be a power couple on the street.
It just
like,
didn't feel
hitting each other in the
authentic.
back. Yeah, it didn't feel authentic at all.
And we weren't sure that we were going to move forward being a power couple still. And so how are we going to record these videos? And so it went on the back burner.
Yep.
And yeah, we're back to a place where we actually just want to share our journey with you guys. It's not about this highlight reel of flying on private planes and, you know, having everything there is in life, but really what reality looks like and how we're going through life. And maybe you guys find it helpful, maybe you don't. It doesn't matter. We're just gonna do this. Someday we'll look back at it and enjoy, go and reminisce about all of the things that we've done in life. And
this is really a good way to remember some of the things, because we forget, like the other day.
Yeah.
We forget everything.
I don't know, if you guys have questions, we can do another episode on this. We don't plan out our episodes. We don't script them, so they just come out the way they are. Okay, candid, not set up video. We were having conversations after recording that episode, and I felt like we got a lot more real than when we were recording it previously, so we're just gonna turn it on and talk. So I remember, I think what I was saying originally is I just felt like the video was kind of the episode we just recorded was all over the place, and that was kind of uncomfortable for me, and that I felt like that we didn't talk about how we got out of that time, because I was like, I don't even know. I don't even know if there was like a point at which I don't remember making a decision, or I think we just took it day by day and it just formed into where we are now. And I know I want to be married to you. I know that I love you and you're my life partner and my best friend. But yeah, that was like, I was like, shoot, I can't even really remember. And I said, what I do remember is I remember the day that we had that conversation, because I had gone on with some other people a donut crawl, and I remember sitting on the couch after we got back, you picked me up, and after we got back and we had that conversation, and then you told me that what you remember was we were in the bedroom, you were on the bed and I was in the bathroom, and we were having a heated discussion.
Oh, I mean, let's be real, the majority of our discussions end up getting, probably by other people's standards, heated. Like, I don't feel like we like scream and yell at each other in an irrational way, but we're both like
Very intense.
super intense. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I would just say like energetically intense, but not like screaming like, ah, like none of that. Just we like, especially me, like my voice will just get like more and more and more intense.
Yeah.
It's always a good clue.
Very passionate, strong people, which is interesting in itself, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
But you were telling me about that moment, and you were like, wow, I think you just shared with me a second ago before we turned it back on, was that, wow, if this is the way that she sees me, I don't want to be married to someone that sees me that way. And I asked you, like, what was that?
So yeah, so basically, I was sitting on the bed. You were in the bathroom. I mean, it's pretty standard setup, and we were basically having a discussion, and more than likely, and I think this is a fascinating thing about human beings, is the more emotion is tied up in something, if you're getting like all these biochemical dumps that completely screw up like your remembrance of things, it skews the story. But more than likely, because it's just very much me, I probably wanted like the details of why it was that I was inadequate in some way, or why it was that you wouldn't want me, or that you wouldn't want me anymore.
What was missing?
Yeah, what it was that was missing, but why you wouldn't want me anymore, like probably, is what I would have said. And I don't remember exactly what you said. I just remember thinking that I had, I remember thinking like, we are like 10 minutes away from getting a divorce, and the reason why I feel that way is because I'll freaking pull the trigger on this. Like, I won't keep going through this. And I remember thinking that because I'm like, I don't want to be in a relationship with a partner who sees me the way that you're telling me that you see me. Especially whenever, like, it would be one thing, because I'm a very, like, look at yourself in the mirror and own your shit type of person, but it would be another thing whenever I had emotions tied up around, like, things that I felt like that you were saying, like, whether you really said it or it just felt this way, was it basically felt like you were saying that, basically I didn't do what it takes to be successful and give you the things that you wanted in life. And so I wasn't willing to do that, which is a low blow, because, I mean, honestly, like, we have had times where I've just not known what to do, and so my default is I'll help you. Like, when we started out, we made a lot of money, it was more my business. And then part of the way that we've come back straight up is you locked on to your photography, and you crushed the photography. And so, I don't know what that beat was. You crushed the photography. And I had tried some other businesses, and I had a little bit of success and not a little bit of success. I was definitely doing well and growing in the junk hauling and demolition, and then we decided to move to Las Vegas. And this is the baggage that adds up on this crap, right? Like, I was doing well on that, and in fact probably would have done extremely well on it, and then we moved to Las Vegas. I got my real estate license, and it was a whole nother thing to learn, while also balancing our finances, of which you were earning the majority of the income at that time. And so you're basically like, you won't do what it takes. And I mean, we've had this feeling before, is like, my occurrence of me is that I will do whatever it takes, but sometimes you don't know what the thing is to do that it takes, so I'll default to like, okay, you're struggling with this, I'll take that off your plate. You're struggling with this, I'll take that off your plate. But you're basically, my feeling is that you viewed me as a person that was not willing to do whatever it takes, which really violate, like, I feel, I feel like it's my own issue, but I have issue with that because I've done some disgusting fucking shit. So don't tell me that I won't do whatever it takes to make my dreams come true, because I've crawled under houses in sewage and I've stood in sewage that's 6 inches deep, and I have a lot of stories around how I do shit that nobody else will do in order to be successful. So that, like, I had resistance about that, but that wasn't the worst thing. Like, the worst, even worse than that, and you viewing me that way, was you were basically like describing to me that, like, every single area of your life, what occurred to me as felt like as I was questioning you, like I was dominating and basically put you in a position where you had to second guess yourself and question yourself because of me and because I've been in your life and I've made you think a certain way. And that was utterly just, I mean, to think about it now, like, frustrates the hell out of me, because from the moment we've got together, I've never wanted you to be anybody but yourself. I do like to think about things, and so I will question the truth of what somebody wants. I'm not like, yeah, let's go run and jump off a cliff or whatever. Like, I can see how that would have impacted you, but this idea that I was like this dominating force in your life that caused basically everything that you wanted to do to basically be lackluster and not filled with fun because you had to think about me. In that moment, I'm like, I don't want to be partners with somebody that basically feels like I'm the parachute that's holding back everything. Like, they're trying to run and I'm just got a rope, like, holding them from going towards all these things. Especially when I've done nothing, in my mind, like nothing, but always try to be like, you do what you gotta do, don't worry about the repercussions. Like, you just gotta find your stuff in life and figure out what it is that you want and need out of life. And those were bigger issues for me than the other stuff that I understand. You got with me when you were 18, you had never had sex before, like, you grew up in a religious background. We've been together practically every day, every single day for 15, 16 years now, except for maybe 2 weeks. And you're like, I just wonder what other people in the world are like. Like, I get that, but what I didn't get was, like, in my mind, I've done nothing but attempt to be this human being, and in that moment, I felt like you were choosing, like literally just choosing to see me in a certain way, and I was having none of it.
Yeah. I think it's so hard to go back and actually think about that, because we've made so many discoveries about ourselves and about, like, self-development discoveries since then. Because now looking back, I'm like, yeah, you didn't make me do anything. It wasn't your fault about anything. Even if I said you make me feel this way, or you made me question my decisions, or all of those things, like, you didn't do any of that, right?
I think I probably yelled that at you.
Probably. But, like, it's so crazy to think back on that, because I'm like, wow, we've come so far from that day. And I would think I was saying I wanted to turn the video back on, because one of the things was that I was kind of like, you were like, did you not say something on the video? It felt like you were wanting to say something, but you weren't saying it. And I was like, I just feel like that I didn't even know how we got through that. Like, I don't even remember. Like, we just started taking it one day at a time, and we did a lot of self-development and discovery, but we were both just in agreement to communicate, to take it one day at a time. And if at some point we felt like this just wasn't going to work, that we would communicate with each other. And rather than it going one way, it's gone the other. And it's been awesome. And it's been such, I think something you said, like, oh, where we clashed as far as, like, me thinking that you're not doing what it takes. I think something that we've discovered since that conversation, and I think has really made a huge difference in our relationship, is that I did grow up in a religious family, and where the man is supposed to take care of the woman, and the woman has kids and, you know, takes care of the house. So it's that very traditional storyline. And so I've always just hung on to that, especially when I felt like things were hard. I wanted you to take responsibility as the man and make me feel better, make everything okay. And that's actually not reality. You can't take the things that I'm going through and make them okay for me and make my feelings okay. And that's something that I've learned. And I think that, what was I gonna say? We've discovered through doing some self-development courses and reading and things that we each have winning formulas. Like, people have winning formulas based on things that they've done in the past, and my winning formula is I'll do whatever it takes. And it sometimes is my strong suit and sometimes it doesn't serve me, but I think that it was me trying to push my own experiences and what has worked for me in the past on you, and you having your winning formula and trying to push it on me. And we've actually discovered that, hey, this one thing might work for you, it doesn't necessarily mean it works for me or other people, and really just recognizing where our strengths and our weaknesses are. And me just letting go of the fact that you need to be something for me, or you need to provide something for me in order for me to feel happy or fulfilled or enough, or like all of those things. So I would say it's just been discovery of being aware of these things and growing as individuals that has allowed us to really save and strengthen our relationship. But yeah, I was like, I don't even know, like, I don't even remember too much. I remember the day that we talked about it.
I trigger myself, get myself worked into a tizzy every single time you say that I'll do whatever it takes thing anyway. Because it is so unquantifiable.
Yeah.
It only exists within your successes, and it doesn't exist within your failures. Like,
Yeah.
and so it's that, like, that probably, even in that, because it was already like a tense moment, like that thing, that I get triggered right now whenever we talk about the whatever it takes, because it's so like it's not quantified.
Yeah, well, there is no, to be honest with you, there isn't. Like, you know that I have struggled in the past with trying to be perfect, and doing these videos is hard for me because I still struggle with it. Have I gotten better? Yes.
You're night and day better, but you go.
Do I have new awareness about things and what's serving me, what's not serving me? Do I have, more awareness about my limiting beliefs? Yes, but that doesn't necessarily mean that they're never going to come up again, and it definitely does. And recording these videos, I'm like, I just felt like that was so chaotic, and there wasn't like an official beginning, middle, and end. It was like hopping around all over the place, and then you asked me, well, what is it that you're trying to get out of that? And I was like, I just wanted it to make sense, and I felt confused. And maybe it was just because I didn't feel prepared, or we didn't talk about it prior to, and it's my need for things to be perfect and to make sense and to feel a certain way. But I'm completely open to recording the videos unscripted, unplanned. It just definitely feels a little uncomfortable right now.
I think one of the things is, honestly, like, my deal with these videos is like, if we, within the universe, like within the context of the universe, say one sentence that's the right sentence for one person within the cosmos of how long these videos stay on YouTube, that impacts them at the right time in their life, awesome.
Yeah.
And you know what the flip side is? The flip side is we never make one of these videos, and nothing that we have
Well,
is shared.
yeah, I would say
So-
this is the first thing that we're doing that we're not doing for business, that we're just doing because we want to share.
Because I wish it was there whenever we were going
Yeah.
through shit.
Because nobody talks about it.
Yeah, how do you freaking fight about, well, I think I might want to be like blah blah blah, and I don't feel like that, and then like, hey, okay, well, we need to do all these 5 things for our business today, so let's put on our business faces and go out into the world and build a business while
Yeah, like nobody talks about everybody talks about the highs,
Yeah.
right, of a power couple relationship. Nobody talks about the lows or the in-betweens or the day-to-day things. And I
Right.
think that was something that, as we've been coaching and as we've met other couples and things like that, you know, power couples, that they've said, like, nobody talks about it. Everybody keeps it hush-hush, and they struggle with it on their own. And so I think that we just felt, like you said, we felt like that, hey, if we just share this, and you're right, if we impact one person, then that's amazing, you know. But if we didn't sit down and do these at all, if we didn't share, then there's no way to be able to help someone through something. And I think I love helping people. So I think when I sit down, I'm like, okay, how can this video help people the most, right? And instead of just sitting down and sharing the raw, real truth and not worrying about it, because I think ultimately the universe always has
That's what I'm.
everything in alignment as long as we just let go.
That's literally what I'm trying to tell you, is quit trying to take control away from the universe and just
Yeah.
let the universe do its thing. Like,
Yeah.
whether you believe in God, Buddha, Allah, universe, like, I don't care what, like,
Karma, yeah.
whoever's
Energy.
watching this, whatever, like, all I'm saying is, you're not really, ultimately, you don't have that much control, so let it go and let it flow and let people be impacted as they will.
Yeah.
And have fucking fun and call it good.
Yeah.
I said another house word.
Well, you can cut it out. So,
Does this feel better?
yeah,
Feel more complete with it now?
I do.
Cool. We'll just splice it in.
All right. I love you.
Love you too.
Mwah.